Welcome, everyone. This is Steve Hill with New Hydrogen, and I'm excited today to welcome Eugene Holubnyak in our ongoing discussion about all things hydrogen. Eugene is the director of the Hydrogen Energy Research Center at the University of Wyoming School of Energy Resources, where he leads a team of researchers and manages state and federal grants on hydrogen energy projects. He has over 15 years experience in sustainable energy development, carbon capture, utilization, storage, and waste management. Eugene has been a principal investigator on over $50 million of sponsored research and development projects on CCUS, hydrogen, and critical minerals, and has published numerous peer-to-peer reviewed papers and reports. He has also served on several professional committees and task forces representing Kansas and the region on CO2 transport, infrastructure, and policy issues. He's passionate about advancing the climate tech and carbon capture and storage industry and exploring the potential of advanced life support systems for space settlements. It's a broad range of experience, and we're delighted to have you here with us today. Thanks for making time, and welcome, Eugene.
Most definitely. Thank you very much for inviting me, Steve. And I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Great. Well, let's start out with talking a little bit about you're out in Wyoming, and you've got a ton of experience out there. What are the drivers for the hydrogen economy specific to Wyoming and the Western United States?
Well, there are multiple drivers, of course. It's ranging from the federal initiatives, such as the Inflation Reduction Act and others, where we have the production credits to produce hydrogen. There are also things like 45Q that govern incentives for sequestering carbon dioxide, and there is also a multitude of changes in markets. And so for us, specific for Wyoming, we have a range of products that we sell on the energy market. And if you consider our output, we are among leaders in United States in terms of selling energy. Most of those products are coming from coal, of course, but we're also one of the top producers in oil and gas. Also, wind energy is coming up and coming right now, increasing our production capacity quite significantly. We have enormous wind resource, of course, that is growing, and there is potential to grow even more. We do also have some smaller hydro power generation capacities. There's also recently been one of the projects approved for hydro storage, which is very exciting. It's kind of new area. It also took quite a long time to approve, but as you can see, we have a very wide-ranging energy portfolio. And with that, we export a lot of natural gas. Our natural gas is actually one of the success stories of the state. It is one of the more sustainably sourced products among other states, and it's not by coincidence or because our resources are such, but actually because of the companies in Wyoming and took upon themselves to reduce their carbon footprint and been doing it for some time, and that's happened because of collaboration with the University of Wyoming and the Center for Air Quality that took part in this initiative quite heavily. And so as a result, we do have a lot of natural gas that is sustainably sourced. But that story doesn't end here, and we do have initiatives in California, Oregon, and Washington that are trying to reduce their carbon footprint even more. And as they do that, there are multiple concerns about buying and supplying natural gas to those states, and these are our primary buyers of natural gas. And because of that, both kind of supply and demand, and also some of the restrictions that might be coming as we see those policy developments in those states, we understand that we need to diversify, and hydrogen could be one of those places to expand the diversification and continue selling energy to our primary customers, but maybe in a little bit different way, a little bit different shape and form.
Yeah, Wyoming is kind of uniquely positioned, I think, in the United States due to the long history that you have there in the energy industry. And so you have a lot of folks who are dialed in and understand this industry, and a lot of opportunity to be able to ramp up and be able to support the rest of the nation as we kind of look towards renewable energy strategies, from wind to natural gas to green hydrogen, even potentially. And these are all exciting things that are happening kind of in your neck of the woods. And it's pretty cool from the hydrogen economy perspective, what a big player Wyoming can be. So it's good to hear that there's so much development. Can you explain a little bit more about your role with all of this? Obviously, you're knowledgeable about all these things and kind of help guiding these things together. For anybody listening, can you kind of explain a little bit about what you do with all of that?
Sure. And the School of Energy Resources at University of Wyoming is kind of unique beast. We are also, I'm proud to say that we're growing very rapidly. And we captured some of the successes recently with the new funding that is coming because of the release through Department of Energy of multiple research grants. But our primary mission for the state of Wyoming is to understand energy and to understand how to improve the economic situation in Wyoming through the energy sources, because energy is plays such a central role for the economy. We are tasked by the state to improve this situation even more. And we need to understand, for that, we need to understand what is the current situation with our energy markets from both our supplies point of view, but also to understand what market demands. And with that, we're not, I would say, pure academic unit. So we do have a component where we teach students, but we do it successfully. We do have a very unique program that is exploring one of those areas that is kind of unique. It's dealing with the land ownership and land issues. So we do have a landman program that is highly successful as one of the examples. But the bulk of our activities at School of Energy Resources is still with the research related to energy and energy sources for the state of Wyoming. And we fund it through the state partially, but we also bring a lot. So basically, we create an ecosystem of energy-related research on campus, bringing faculty to expand their research so that they are able to pursue bigger and more interesting projects on a larger scale. But ourselves, School of Energy Resources, we are PIing multiple large-scale grants that are on it's at a higher TRL, meaning it's a research development that is not a laboratory scale, but closer to a field deployment, where we're trying to de-risk those research activities and bring them to commercialization and hand them to commercial partners. So we're dealing with energy companies on a day-to-day basis.
Well, that's the magic, isn't it? Learning how to scale this up from the laboratory scale is always the challenge. It's where the big investment dollars really need to start going to work to make things happen. And you even mentioned how you're teaching classes in land, and I'm thinking about infrastructure and how this all works too, and this whole economy, infrastructure, transportation, land use, all of these things are super important factors. One thing that strikes me that I was just thinking about with all of this is you hail from Ukraine, and you might have a unique perspective on energy independence from someone who's coming from a nation where right now there's a lot of conflict, and as a result, a lot of surrounding countries in Germany and France and Italy and others are struggling with their natural gas supply. How important is it from your viewpoint that we here in the United States and other nations develop some sort of an energy independent structure? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I'm quite passionate about the subject. And the School of Energy Resources just recently had a seminar, webinar series on energy security and in relation to energy crisis in my home country and war that is going on at the moment. And because of that, I do have a passion for energy security, because to me it's one of those issues that need to be, especially also in light, not only because of the war in Ukraine, but also because of the domestic issues here in the United States. There are multiple problems with the energy supply. And in certain areas, there's a bomb cyclone on the East Coast that happened, I think it was 2012 or 2013-14. There's a report from the Department of Energy that people can take a look at and see on what exactly happened, because that was already explained. There's also recent events in Texas that are also quite scary. And so looking at those items, looking at what is happening in Ukraine, it kind of is one of my pet topics to talk about. And hydrogen actually fits into this very well, because it's both, it could enable scaling up the renewable sector, but also could improve our grid and energy supply in times of peak demand or sort of unforeseen circumstances that happened, for example, in Texas and in some of our other cases in the recent history.
Yeah, those are great examples. The bomb cyclone, the winter that shut down everybody's energy in Texas, and even just rolling blackouts here in California. We see these issues where we need to find new solutions, and you're working towards that, which is great. We're also working for that at New Hydrogen, and we believe that you're on the right path there. So, thinking about your region though, in in Wyoming, what are some of the challenges that you're facing specific to that region in your strategy and in your in what you're working with?
So Wyoming is unique. We're definitely unique in that we're the least populated state, and so that we don't have a lot of demand for energy locally. Yet we do produce a lot of energy to supply other states, and so that creates a unique situation, because in this case, we need to be very sensitive to what market changes are surrounding us. Another point for Wyoming is, especially for hydrogen, is water availability and water rights, because most of the water is already has been subscribed to by other users. It is really difficult to bring in an additional use into this market. And although hydrogen production generation doesn't require a lot of water consumption, both consumption and use, and we could talk a little bit about that as well. But still, social license to operate could be difficult to obtain, and so we need to be sensitive about this issue, and not to, and just to make sure that we are successful as an industry moving forward. And for that reason, School of Energy Resources specifically is looking to put in use some of the water that is being produced in oil and gas fields. And it kind of does two things for us. One, so oil and gas is producing this water anyway, and they need to get rid of this water because it's a byproduct of oil or gas production. And getting rid of this water is expensive. It is maybe not very expensive, but it adds an additional expense. And if we can lower that demand for disposal, maybe we can help our local producers.
That's a great solution.
But then the second thing is that, well, we're still going to be producing oil and gas for at least some time. It's not going to go away in a heartbeat. It's going to stay for some time. We just need to be honest about this. But so if we're using this water to produce and to offset some of this production with the hydrogen generation, we're still employing the same set of people. This industry continues to sustain, and then we also switching to this different, maybe a little bit different way to produce energy through renewable energy and through electrolysis and using oil and gas water. And all of a sudden, this water becomes a commodity and enables another industry to basically flourish in this environment where people, kind of similar to what happened in Permian Basin, where the water is sold to fracking operations to produce oil and so on, natural gas. So we hope that we could do the same or similar in Wyoming with hydrogen production.
Well, you mentioned that Wyoming is one of the less populous states in the United States. How then are you coping with kind of this lack of workforce availability? Is that still a challenge? Is that something that you found a solution for? What's the status there?
Well, it doesn't seem to be that the solution is common anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's the least populated states or most populated state. It is currently it is a big challenge in all sectors of economy, but we are specifically very sensitive about this because hydrogen is a new industry that is coming to Wyoming, and with that, there are many unknowns. We don't know how everything will work out. But we definitely will need new certification and new practices, and also new workforce that or the same workforce, but that is recertified or re-educated to work in a similar capacity. And hydrogen provides additional challenges for that. So we hope to bring new programs that are specifically designed to educate this new workforce. And currently, one of my colleagues, has received a grant from the state of Wyoming to address this issue. So we're just starting. It's not a very expensive program, but we hope to grow it into a different level where we actually understand on how to approach it and how to work with community colleges, but also how to work with on a university level. Both with undergraduate and graduate degrees, and preparing this workforce. So many challenges. I don't think we have answers yet, but we're working towards that direction.
There's so many moving parts in making this machine move forward, right? And one of those things, obviously, is we've got workforce. Is there a possibility, obviously, of retraining workforce that you're talking about and certification in a new industry? How flexible will they be? How much different is it? It's really cool to hear that you guys are already thinking about that and finding an approach to work with helping the education grow, because all these pieces have to come in place for us to move forward with this. So an excellent work. I have one final question before we wrap up today. I know it's sort of off topic, but you got to share a little bit about this.
Sure.
Your profile about you have a little passion about the potential of advanced life support systems for space settlements. That is just, with India landing on the moon and all of the activity in space right now, SpaceX and all of this stuff, it's just such a fascinating topic. Just share with us maybe just briefly what your passion is about this and what got you kind of interested in that.
Well, I always has been very interested in aerospace. So basically, I grew up at the airfield. My father was a communications engineer for the Air Force, and so I like this subject very much. I know a thing or two about this. And later, I did meet my advisor, Vadim Regalov, who used to be with the Soviet space program, but then he got, I think in the late 90s, or early 90s, he got to work with NASA's space program, and his specialization was specifically advanced life support systems. It is a kind of unique area in aerospace in general and space sciences, and you do have a few examples here. So the NASA worked on in this area for some time, and Ray Wheeler with the Kennedy Space Center, Life Sciences, Space Life Sciences Lab, where I worked for a little bit. It's one of the examples of that. But in general, it's kind of overlooked area because almost esoteric, because you are combining several things together. And if you watched the movie Martian, that's basically the concept where you grow your food to propel your to sustain your life away from Earth, well, your natural environment where you grew up and actually went through the process of evolution to make sure that you actually fit into this environment well. And then all of a sudden you go to Mars and you don't have those privileges basically of being in the same environment where you grew up as a species. And so that's what this advanced life support system challenge is to make sure that you fit into this different environment or create some sort of artificial environment where you can sustain your life for some time. And it's kind of also a little bit more romantic type of subject where going out of this earth and on a voyage to something new. Also, it's very, of course, it is very attractive to me. Although I do understand the challenges of living in space and operating in space and all the dangers that are beyond just regular sustainable life here on Earth. So that's probably why I was kind of attracted to that. Is both the personality of and magnitude of my advisor, but also just the challenge in itself. It's very kind of fulfilling type of thing for me to pursue. So that's kind of give you some background of why I have chosen to look into this area.
Well, it's fascinating. Thanks for sharing that with us. It just inspires. I mean, there'd be so many more questions we could talk about. I mean, for example, are UFOs real? That's what I was going to ask you, but maybe we'll save the answer. We'll save that answer for another day. It's so nice to speak with you today. Thank you so much, Eugene, for making time to talk with us and to share your thoughts and opinions, and best wishes for all of your endeavors in Wyoming and beyond as you guys do the yeoman's work to try and move this process forward. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Okay, have a great day.
You too.